Well, folks, it's come to it. We are living in a nation that is in distress. Right now, we are undergoing civil unrest at the largest scale that it ever has been since the Great Depression. Now, many people forget about the Great Depression, and the Great Depression started off when the economy started to slip off due to the the exaggeration on production and stocks. Well, right now, in this current situation, the civil unrest is happening before the Depression. And what happened after the Great Depression is not surprising: war. War was a way of getting the economy back to normal after when the Depression hit. It gave manufacturers an opportunity to make war profit, give people jobs, and become a capitalist economy. The economy became the best capitalist country it could ever be. Downside, of course, to war is loss of family, friends, destruction of property on other foreign grounds, and loss of property in within your own nation due to counterattacks or instigative strikes. Which reminds me of Pearl Harbor, because that was an instigative strike. That was a strike to get us involved. Now, when we come across this, why am I discussing this topic? Well, to begin with, before we start on discussing why I'm bringing this subject up, if you are easily offended, I suggest you turn this video off right now. Because your little butthurt feelings are not gonna matter when the world comes to a crumble. In fact, you're gonna be even more devastated when your butterfly feelings be crushed by the world being toppled around you, and then you're over here left whining and swallowing in a pile of piss, trying to wonder what to do and how to survive. With that being said, here's the truth. And the truth hurts. The leaders of our country are not your presidents. The leaders of your countries are not your governors, your representatives, your chancellors, whatever you have. The leaders of your country are the bankers. Well, who are the bankers? Well, your most well-known bank owners, which are central bank owners, or should I say the least well-known, is Jacob Rothschild and David Rockefeller. Sound familiar? If it doesn't, let me give you a history education. The Rockefeller family began with J.D. Rockefeller, who bought into the oil industry. J.D. Rockefeller decided that kerosene wasn't good enough for the industry, so he founded gasoline. Gasoline is used in your cars. Crude oil was a basic notion of the time to start, and once he figured out how to use refined oil, it became relevant that he owned the biggest portion ever of the oil industry because he took up the whole industry. Now, how do we say who owns it now? Well, it still is in the Rockefeller fortune, even though you see BP, Exxon, Mobil, and all them. He owns all the petroleums. Now, that being said, J.D. Rockefeller passed his legacy on to his sons. Theirs got a hold of medical technology. So Rockefeller also owns Big Pharma. So, why am I educating you? Because this is important. You need to listen very carefully. Rockefeller may be one kind, but Rothschild created the currency which helped Hitler, the Rothschild family. And when Rothschild made this new coin for Hitler, it got their economic back on track to where they could enter the war and get their economy back up and running. Now, due to this, you realize who is your enemy now. Now, George Soros is right up there with them. Bill Gates and Henry Kissinger, the prince. In fact, Henry Kissinger owns Obamacare. How can a European prince own Obamacare? Well, you can look it up and find out for yourself. I'm not going to go explain it for you. First of all, to create civil unrest, the media, which is controlled by the bankers, which is umbrellaed, and below that pyramid is the government, and the government is just puppets of the bankers. The government is running the media. Big corporations get to decide what the media says. The big corporations are under the bankers. Okay, so we got bankers, big corporations, government. Bankers control the corporations control the government. The government, or the fake government, which is also known as the gray government, is controlling the media. So media poisons you day in and day out with news that portrays an image that they want to portray to cause you to feel or think as they do, or to feel or think as they want you to, so that you will act like an idiot, go out, burn buildings, attack police, cause nationwide havoc, influence you to fornicate, influence you to get involved in several other things. Your basic television and movies involve drugs, sex, violence, everything in between. Therefore, we are being programmed to think as the media wants you to think. It's called mental conditioning. And if something's played in your head long enough, it gets to where you believe it's real. Your brain thinks it's real. You may not believe it's real, but your brain thinks it's real. Therefore, you are created into an environment where your mind will react the way that they want you to. First of all, and your college and schooling is right along with it. It's mental conditioning as well. So now we've got these groups that's pawns, that are pawns of the corporation, the media, and the bankers. So who are these pawns? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, it's liberal Christians. Now, yeah, like I said, you're going to get offended really bad by this video. Liberal Christians, feminists, the LGBT, and Black Lives Matter. Those are the current groups. There's more groups to list, but we'll just stick with the main ones. First of all, feminism is an ideology, not a group of people. I'm not referring to people here. Feminism is an ideology. And the ideology itself is a disease. Now, why would I attack such a prominent group that's achieved history? Because it's not what it used to be. It used to be just about getting the same rights as men. That's a fault to begin with. Why would you want the same rights as another group? Why not have your own set of rights? That's what they're doing now. So now they want their own rights. Their own set of rights. So they rally for a standpoint where they're basically crushing the family structure by the pillars that hold it up. They attack the Bible to begin with. They refute all arguments, scientific, that are good-natured scientists, and the scientific acknowledgments that I've met agree with nature, not your fantasies. True science does not defy logic. Some things that are logical in science are illogical in nature, like homosexuality to begin with. Transgenderism. Transgenderism is the biggest mental illness I've ever seen. To think that you are the gender that you are not is just a crime against nature. Mutilating body parts, taking pills, basically voluntary surgeries, anything that defies nature is embodied in transgenderism. Therefore, to eradicate this disease, you must notify that it is a disease. Say what it is. It's a disease. It is a mental disease. Therefore, when you come upon someone who is transgenderism, discuss with them the life risk factors that involve their transformations, including death. The thing about it is when I look through the Bible, it talks about seared consciousness. Seared consciousness happens when the mind no longer perceives the truth. It perceives the truth as a lie, and a lie as the truth. It no longer recognizes common natural things, which is where homosexuality comes in as well. It is a seared conscious. It is a conscious that does not think correctly. Therefore, if you are aware of these groups, avoid them at all costs. I encourage you to avoid them at all costs. But if you come upon one that is not obvious and they begin to talk erratic towards you, walk away before they become violent. It is better to keep yourself safe than become a victim of their erratic minds. Now, am I encouraging homophobia or transphobia or whatever you call it? No, I'm not. I'm saying protect yourself so you won't get hurt. That's the whole idea, because their minds are twisted and corrupt. And feminism is tied in with these groups. They're rallying for rights across college campuses, in states, in government. But here's the downside to it. when the NWO comes along, those groups are going to be picked off first because they're obviously mentally ill. They'll be murdered in mass quantities. It'll be like Hitler's concentration camps all over again. And it won't be a godly government that does it. They'll be murdered. They will be killed by your government, owned by the bankers. Then they'll seclude men from their family structures so that the mothers that are with children will be forced to raise them by themselves. And fatherless families are not good. I mean, there's plenty of children that have been raised by women that have turned out fine. But the presence of a father is key to proper discipline, proper nurture, and boys need fathers around. And so do little girls. They need their fathers. And when I come across LGBT members, they have the potential to be pedophiles or even worse. And I'm not just saying this by hearsay. I'm saying this by experience. I know people who are LGBT that are clearly pedophilic or sexual predators. They are not nice people. So like I said, all kinds of murder and rapes in the streets are going to happen by the time that the government enforces martial law. It is an acceleration to get the world under a vast mentality of sickness, to create a destruction of this world as we know it, crash mass panic, mass chaos on a planet-wide scale that cannot be controlled until someone surrenders themselves to a foreign power. But who is that sovereign power that you're going to surrender to? The battle lines are being drawn right now. You're either with God or you're with the devil. The bankers are with the devil. Their pawns are with the devil. You can be a liberal Christian all you want. You can fight this. You can argue that. You can put yourself in a tizzy mess. You can fart around all you want. But the final message is, are you with God or are you with Satan? I tell you, it's not going to be pretty the last days. The Christians are not going to be taken out of this world. Noah was not taken out of the flood. Daniel was not taken out of the lion's den. Lot was saved from the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So if you're a member of this feminist group, and you're a Christian, or you're the potential to believe in this stuff, or to be wakened, I suggest you get out of those groups. Because even though those groups are going to be killed off first, Christians are going to be cut off next. In fact, it might be happening all at the same time. Christians might be picked off first for all we know. But if you're right with God, you're safe. If you're with Satan, you're going to hell. I have a website that can tell you how you can be saved, how you'll know you'll be saved, and you can visit that website. I'll put the link at the end of the video. But all these activist things are not helping the world. They are conditioning to create chaos. and they are intended to destroy the countries to the point where they have to enforce martial law. Get out of those groups and start protecting yourself. Prepare yourself. Put on the whole armor of God and defend yourself and your family. Good night, everyone.